Welcome back, guys, to another Dragon Ball Sparking Zero video. Today we're going to be doing a full defense guide for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero so you guys can start showing up some of the people in your matches with your amazing defense ability, man. Defense is one of the most important aspects of Sparking Zero because if you have good defense, you can basically intercept any combo, any special move, anything that is thrown at you and win even if you don't know a singular combo in the game, man. With that being said, grab your senzu beans and let's go. Alright, guys, for the first part of this defense guide in Sparking Zero, we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people have not seen really been talking about, and that is going to be movement. Your movement is very, very, very important in Sparking Zero. Whether it's just going in and out here, you got to be very careful because people can very quickly close the distance. They can very quickly go square and X and just, bam, they're right there. They can go for they can do that right there. That right there is a very good move right there that a lot of people will use aggressively in close range to try and get you, and you got to be very careful because it does go behind you when they do decide to do that. There isn't a lot that they can get off of that as far as I'm aware currently, but that is something to be mindful of, is that your movement needs to be on point. Like you gotta really utilize the stepping right here, being able to sidestep, get around people, use that to dodge attacks, because you do have a frame of invincibility when you do pop these steps, whether it's going backwards, forward, or anything else. Another thing you can do when you are close range is you can go step into a guard and you'll do a little bob and weave. And that is a nice little step as well to get some extra little bit of invincibility to try to get that little frame in there where you can go ahead and counterattack. So that's an extra little thing you can do with step right there to get some bob and weaving going. Obviously, do also have the basic guard as well. You hold R1 to guard if you're on standard, and then it's a different control if you're not on standard. And you know, there's just your basic guard, man. You block, but you do have to be careful because there is guard breaks in the game. There's grabs, there's going through, people can help or behind you. So there's a lot of different things that do go into that aspect. Speaking of things that go through guard, here's the throw command. You do have to just press guard plus square and it will throw out your grab. You have to be very careful with grabs in this game though. They are very short ranged and they are pretty obvious because they are relatively slow as well. So like even if I'm right here, it's not gonna hit Piccolo. Like look at that. It does have a little bit of a dash forward. Every character is different again. So test your character's grab before you decide to go into ranked. So for Gohan's, he does have a little bit of dash, so we have a little bit of room, and he goes and does that. If you and somebody else grab at the same time, you guys will get a grab clash, in which in case you want to press your square button here, and you want to press it and not hold it for too long, if you press it just a little bit kind of like that, or you're pressing it a little bit every now and then, that will help you fill that bar up, and you want to try to get that bar filled as much as possible without holding the square too much, because if you hold it too much, it'll reset your bar, and then you're pretty much guaranteed to lose. You don't really usually want to boost those, but even if you do, that is a good one to boost, because when you do win that, you basically can get a combo off of it. Now, another aspect here of the defense is going to be the ki blast. These ki blasts are very good for staggering people, and you want to try to use this to break up people's offensive pattern. You want to use this to kind of stagger them, kind of disorient their little pattern that they got going on. You don't want them to like constantly be able to be aggressive against you and not have the threat of you ki blasting them. This ki blast is very, very powerful. You don't usually want to charge it, but you can. Usually you just want to kind of use it to kind of make that distance. It also creates a little bit of a cloud there that you see. That cloud is very good for because it kind of hides the actions you're doing, and it makes it harder for them to react to whatever you plan on doing. This is both a good offensive tool, but also a really good defensive tool because, again, it can be used to disrupt people a lot. Especially if somebody's constantly trying to get on you while they're trying to, like, charge at you, step in, do all these things. Even if somebody, like, is trying to go behind you like this, like let's say they're like super far away and they're trying to get behind you like that, if you're spamming ki blast, you can catch them when they do that and stop their combo and disrupt their pattern. So that is a good use of ki blast right there that you do want to get used to doing. You don't want to be wasting your ki blast, man. You don't want to be willy-nilly walking around in the open area just throwing these out for no reason. You want to be like, if they're close, you're trying to avoid them getting on you, you want to use it there. You want to use it to disrupt their ki charge. Like those are all defensive ways you can use your ki blast. And then obviously, especially when they dash you, you want to use it to stop them from being able to actually combo you for dashing you. You want them to waste their ki while getting the most value for your ki. There is also ki blast deflection and reflection in the game. So right here, this is just us moving around with ki blast deflection. We're just holding down guard here and we're moving around. If you're in the air, you're moving around, you will ki blast deflect. You see me waving my hand like a little wiggly neighbor. And that's what Gohan's just doing. That's just the deflection on the ki blast right there. Now, ki blast reflection is just pressing it at the perfect time, and it will reflect the ki blast there. There we go. That's just all it is. That's all the ki blast reflection is. It only works on smash ki blast though. You can't, I think you can also reflect normal ki blasts, but normals are obviously harder to time because they're a lot faster. Smashes are pretty slow, as you can see with Piccolos here, and we can kind of just deflect them normally. But I wouldn't play for it too much. It's not too important, but it's, you know, it's a tech in the game that you do have access to, so keep that in mind. Now we're going to talk about the most useless defensive mechanic in the game that should be better, but in case it does get better, we'll talk about it. But for the most part, I would highly recommend you guys do not use this next one, but you guys should be aware that it exists because you can counter this counter when you're playing offensively. So you guys should still know about it so you guys know what to do when it's used against you defensively, but I would not recommend you guys to use this defensively. And that is going to be the revenge counter. Dog is going kind of crazy. I apologize. That is going to be the revenge counter here, and this is what revenge counter looks like. You're in the middle of getting hit, and you just press that. So the way you want to use this ideally is you want to use it in somewhere in their string where they can't like vanish behind you, they can't continue their combo, they can't hit you, because this revenge counter is very, very weak. There's not a lot on this. They can very easily keep comboing you even after you use this, and this is a very expensive tool. It costs you 2 bars of your blue gauge up top, as you guys can see, and that is not something you want to waste, man. That blue gauge is extremely valuable. Now the other thing you can also do with the revenge counter is pop in mid-range and long range. Also not very effective still even then. It's even worse at mid and long range, but you can pop in mid-range like that. Does a quick little hit right there, nothing too crazy. Long range is where it's the worst. Here you'll see that it is just super slow, man. Like it's just a quick dash in. They can literally just hold perception that entire time and just counter, man. That's all they got to do. Just hold perception and they can counter. And if you guys have seen, we will show you guys the little super counter, but there is an animation when you counter a revenge counter with a perception, and it looks pretty dope. But you will see that a lot the better you get at the game because it's very easy to react to it. Here we have the defensive tech. If somebody's trying to constantly throw you, this is all you have to do. They try to throw you, you just press R1. Just completely deflect it, nothing crazy. If you guys do throw at the same time, it will clash, but that's all there is to that. Now another defensive tech is going to be the recoveries here. These have been a little buggy for me, honestly. They sometimes work, sometimes they don't. It's really weird, but honestly, it's still good to know that all the types of recoveries, they are very useful. The first one here is just while you're being knocked back, you can press R1. Don't perfect dodge like that. And when you're being knocked back, you can just press R1. It'll take you back into the neutral stance. Then the other one here that you can do as well is this impact recovery. This is the hardest one to do because you do have to time it as you're coming down. But if you do time it, you'll just normally recover right there. You'll just stop. But this is the best recovery because it doesn't put you in a disadvantageous position when you get it. But it is harder to do because let's say you're holding just the down button, it will not recover. So I'm trying to show you guys right there. Let me go up to Piccolo, and I'm just going to hold the down key, and it's not doing anything. But if we go to Piccolo and we time it, you see right there, it actually does the recovery. So that is the thing with that one is you do have to time it. Now, the thing you don't have to time is if you were to do the up recovery. So watch this. If we just hold up here, we go down, we immediately go back up. We don't have to time it. And that is really convenient, but obviously you have to dragon dash, but you can also play aggressive with that. So that's something you can do is you can play aggressive on your recovery and just go straight back into the fight. Just go start punching the hell out of the opponent. So those are the couple of defensive options that you have with recovery. And the last recovery here is just the normal recover. And when you're knocked down, you can just use this to get back up, which is also a nice little recovery tool right there. That is something you guys definitely want to get used to doing. That is another good way to recover. If you mess up, like let's say you don't hit the down one, you can just pop this one, and then this is a good way to recover without having to put yourself in a dangerous position. This is probably the one you should be recovering with the most, but obviously depends on the situation. You guys got to notice how you're playing, notice how the game is going, and go from there in regards to how you want to recover. But that is going to be all your recovery options and when and where to use them. Now, here we have the advanced guard techniques. There's not too much to really talk about with these ones. They're very self-explanatory. There is a high and low guard in the game. So if you guys have noticed a couple characters, if you've been playing online, you'll notice that they do a low kick that can guard break you and stagger you so they can continue comboing. The way you avoid that is by low guarding. And if you low guard it, you can punish that person for doing that. Same thing with high guard. A lot of the characters will have a high that they can either charge up or they do a couple little high kicks, which a lot of the characters have. Characters like G4 have that, where they will do a couple of high kicks and that will go ahead and stagger you and open you up to get comboed. Again, those are things you have to block with a high guard, and if you do block them with a high guard, it is a 50-50. It's a mix-up. That's how it works. But if you do manage to block it, you do get to punish them. Now, the guard clash here is the little thing that we were telling about. If you and somebody else clash at the same time, so press while opponent. Press while opponent is guarding. So while the opponent is guarding, you can go ahead and do this, and this will go ahead and break their guard. Now you do have to be careful, because if the opponent predicts that you're doing this, and this is again another going to be a defensive tech, you can hold perception and you can just counter this, and you're free, man. Like, you're free, nothing happens to you. So that is another tip for you. If you think they're trying to guard break you, rather than holding guard, obviously you want to switch to perception. It's very quick to do so. You can go straight from perception to guard. That is another thing. You can hold down guard and press perception at the same time and go to it. So you guys just want to really utilize that fact right there a lot of the times in your combo. If you see them like even do something like, let's say you see them do this, you want to hold perception right there. Let's say you see them do this, you want to hold perception right there. That's where your perception and your reaction time is going to get you a lot of value, because if they can't guard break you because you're constantly percepting it, and percepting is very easy to use because you just press circle or whatever input it is on the classic controls. I'm not aware of that. And you, for basically zero value, because perception is the most overpowered defensive thing in the game besides what we will get to. And it just has a lot of value, man. It stops their combo, it drains their ki, and it just overall gives you so much stuff, man. It's so freaking good. Here we have the attack break, and this is if you're holding for high guard. So this is what happens if you do predict that somebody is trying to break you with a high guard. You could just high block, and then you get that little stagger on them. Let's block him again, and then see right there, we have him staggered enough to continue comboing him, and then we can just go for a full combo there. So that's why you want to really master those high and low guards and figure out the timings on those, because if you even when you percept, you can't punish, but if you predict the guard and you low guard or high guard, you can punish off that, rather than wasting your perception, especially once you get into super perception, because you don't want to be wasting your skill gauges on perception, which we will get to in a little bit. Speaking of super perception, that is where we are at now. These are the advanced counters. This is a perception that we've been talking about. If you just hold circle, you will go ahead and just counter the enemy, but as you guys see, it doesn't like stagger them or anything. You can't really combo off that. They can block this, so that is one thing. It does like kind of reset it back to neutral, but you can't really combo off that. There's not enough end lag on that to combo. Now super perception is if you have a skill gauge, you can go ahead and super percept their attack. So that was them trying to guard break us. If they were trying to guard break us, we could be able to do that. So look at this. So we'll hold guard. So that would normally just guard, and then if we time it, we can do that. That's all it is, man. That's all it is. Perception is so good, guys. If you master perception, you're gonna master the defense in this game right now. There's only two things you really need for defense: perception and perfect counter, man. That's all you really need. Then here we have high speed evasion. The moment an attack lands on you, you can just go ahead and vanish it. If we can actually do it, that'd be nice. There you go. You gotta master the timing on this. If you fail, then it does obviously get you hit, but there you go. This is a good way to practice it as well, but obviously this is a Piccolo. You're not gonna see a lot of Piccolos in rank. You don't want to really practice on him. You want to practice on like the better characters in the game. Blocking it obviously isn't too bad, but the thing is, if you get the vanish, then you can actually punish them, because you get that little time gap to get that frame in, and then you can actually punish. And that's what you want, man. That's what you want. You want to be able to punish. Now this, the game tutorial doesn't tell you here, is a very overpowered thing, because what you can do with this is no matter what direction you're being hit from, if you get the exact moment they hit you, you press guard, you will dodge. High speed evasion will activate no matter what. Doesn't matter if they're behind you, doesn't matter if they're in front of you, doesn't matter if they're to the side, you will dodge. Doesn't matter if it's an ultimate, doesn't matter if it's mid combo, because the combos in this game are very different than combos you might be used to in other fighting games. They're not exactly true combos. They're combos that always will have a gap in there, where if you time a guard or dodge or counter perfectly, you will be able to exit that combo. So like, let's say somebody does Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, he combos you, and then he throws out an ultimate. You pop high speed evasion on that ultimate at the perfect frame that you can dodge it, then you will be able to dodge that ult without getting hit. Even if he combos you into it, even if he down slams you, even if he knocks you down, grabs you, throws you, whatever he does. As long as you perfect guard, you will always be able to dodge that ultimate. Now the question is, obviously, how good is your reaction time? Because in certain situations, obviously, you just can't react to it, man. Sometimes it's just too fast. That's one of the reasons a lot of the high tier characters like Broly, etc., they are so strong, because their ults are, for one, Broly's ult is not guardable. So the only way you cannot get hit by it is either if you just dodge it naturally by running away, or you get this high speed evasion on it. And it's very hard to get this high speed evasion on Broly's ult because it is so fast. If he is close range to you, that ult is borderline guaranteed to hit you and do a massive chunk of your HP. And there just isn't much you can do about that, man. There just isn't much you can do about that. The only hope you have is this high-speed evasion, but again, in order to get this high-speed evasion, you have to perfect frame it. So that's going to take a lot of practice to build that reaction time, but that's where the training comes in, man. That's where you go in the lab, you put Broly as the enemy, and you set him to do special move, and you just sit there, and you constantly try to evade his freaking special move at any distance. And that is where the training goes crazy, man. That's where the defensive training will go crazy. But this is the best defensive tech in the game, besides ultimate counter, that you can really use, because this works against everything. Ultimate counter is very good against physical attacks, but it doesn't really do much against key-based attacks. Against key-based attacks, ultimate counter will not do much, like if somebody throws a Big Bang Kamehameha at you. But this attack will work against literally anything in the game. So you definitely want to master high-speed evasion. Now here we have the infamous super counter that we have been talking about. This is one of the best defensive tools in the game, but it's also one of the hardest to use because the timing on it is very hard. It takes a lot of practice to get this down. It's gonna take a lot of practice to get this down. A lot of people have still not mastered it. And if you guys are wondering what you do when people are constantly behind you giving you back shots in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, this is what you do, man. If you time this, they can't be giving you back shots no more, so you're welcome. I got you guys with that information. So right here is what we're trying to do is get that ultimate counter hidden. So let's see. We're not even trying to master the timing here. We're just kind of trying to show you guys where it is. Okay, we went. All right, let's go. Super counter. The moment the attack lands. So you got to do it right when the attack is about to hit you at the start of it. All right, here we go. It's hard, man. It's hard. That's what I'm telling you guys. It's hard, man. Even I don't have it down, and I've been playing a lot. There you go. There, that is what the counter is right there. It can't activate mid-combo. You just got to get the exact timing that the ult is. So what I would recommend is you guys just hold the up button, and then right when they're hitting you, you press the square. You try to time the square with it, and then you should be able to hit the counter. Not getting it right now. We're trying it again. We're just holding up. Yeah, we are not hitting it today, man. We hit that once. There we go. There's that one. So the timing is very specific on it, man. It's very, very specific. But if you guys do master it, which again, like, I'm not saying it's easy to do, because as you guys can see, even I haven't mastered it. It is something you have to put a lot of time and effort into, but it's very rewarding, because once you do master that timing on that super counter, nobody can touch you, man. Nobody can freaking touch you. If you master that and you master the special moves with the high speed evasion, your defense is borderline flawless. Pair that with your perception skills, and you are a force to be reckoned with off your defense alone. You don't even need to worry about your combos that much at that point, because you won't be taking damage, man. You're just gonna be the most goated defensive player of all time. Now here we have obviously the Z counter. Press the moment the follow-up attack lands. So this is telling you about this whole vanish situation that we have going on. If you guys have seen a lot of the clips online, there's a lot of back and forth vanishes going on. That's where this comes from, man. If you perfectly time, it's the same thing. If you perfectly time, you'll do a high-speed evasion, but on a follow-up attack, it'll be a high-speed evasion counter attack that is considered a Z counter. And that's what that is right there. Z counter uses is just to really just dodge follow-up attacks and stuff like that, that way you get a little bit of extra damage. And off of that Z counter, little pro offensive tip, you can go ahead and Z counter and then follow up that Z counter with your own follow-up. You can press X to do a homing dash, and then press either square or triangle to extend that. Then you can press another triangle to extend that, depending on your character, another triangle depending on your character. It all comes down to what you're playing, and then a circle to finish off your combo. Usually you want to use circle at the end of your combo. You want to press triangle to launch them higher up in the air before you press a circle to down slam them down. And that way, when you down slam them down with circle, a lot of the times one of your specials will be able to connect very, very easily as they're falling down to the ground to recover. Here we have the impact options. These are another big part of defense. You got to be able to know. The speed impact happens when you guys are dragon dashing at each other. Let's see if he dashes with us. Let's go ahead and reset it. We were just not hitting this Piccolo, man. There we go. So you want to time that square as it's coming in, which is why you don't want to be always spamming square. You don't want to always be spamming square because of that, because then you might accidentally just end up throwing away the impact interaction if you're constantly spamming square. So you want to be careful with your square usage, man. I know a lot of people out there are spamming square. That is why we want to do that. Now, power impact is happening when you and somebody else try to throw each other at the same time. So there you go. And this is the one where you want to kind of like tap square to get it. That was a really bad one. Don't use that. Don't do that. That's not what you want to do. But I'll show you guys here. We'll go ahead and try to get the grab with him. There we go. There we go. That was a good one right there. That's how you want to do it, man. That's how you want to do it. And then obviously to get the stagger, you can continue the combo off of that. And that's all there is to it, man. That's all there is to it. That's all the power impact is. Then the crash impact is going to be a stepped clash with your opponent. And then this is where you press X. And then this is where you want to time the hit. And if you win 3 out of 5 of these, then you do end up winning it completely. So right there, Piccolo beat us on 3 out of 5 of them. So he was able to get the win. We're going to go and do one more, see if we can win it. He beat us there. And he got 3 out of 3 there, man. I just don't even know which input it was. So you press R1 when you're trying to defend, and square if your character is attacking. So you have to look at the visual cue on the screen to see what's happening to really know. Let's go and reset. Let's try this. We're square there, and we're square there, and we're square there. And he ended up beating us on all 3. The Piccolo AI is cracked, man. We are not going to try that again, but you guys get the idea how that works. You guys get the idea. Now the blast impact, the final defensive thing you need to know is this little clash. There we go. Time to clash with your opponent, and we'll clash with his ult. So this is the beam clashes, obviously. So you want to hold triangle, fill up the bar, let it fill up, press triangle, let it fill up, press triangle. So you want to press triangle when the bar is filled up. And the more it's filled up, that's when you want to press it. The less it's filled up, the less you're likely to win the clash. And then that's how you get ult. The thing about beam clashes, though, is they do hit very hard. So if you lose a beam clash, it's going to hurt a lot. I've seen beam clashes do 40, 50k damage. And it is just because you lost the beam clash, man. That it can literally decide a match. It's that impactful, and I love that because that you shouldn't. That's Dragon Ball, man. Beam clashes are crazy, man. Beam clashes are freaking crazy. So loving that, but you guys should definitely know how to do those things for your defensive technology in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Now here we have the step in sway. This is that little thing that we were telling you guys about earlier, where you can step in and press guard, and that will dodge. You can dodge attacks like that and then get an additional counter and combo without having to do anything else. This one I haven't been using too much myself, but I do think it is a very valuable tech, and I am going to definitely try to incorporate more into my gameplay. But that is something very good that you can do both offensively and defensively. That's a very good tech to know and know how to use and practice. Practice, 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 man. That's the name of the game. That is the name of the game. So here we have a Sonic Sway. This is what I was telling you guys about earlier. If you perfectly get a super perception, which a super perception is basically just a normal perception while you have skill gauge, then you will, at the exact moment that their rush attack lands, you will trigger Sonic Sway, which allows you to quickly dodge your attacks while reducing their ki. It can be an effective method to reduce their ki, but I don't recommend you guys use this too often. It does look really cool, but it is, in my opinion, just a waste of skill points a lot of the time, and I would not recommend you guys do this unless you're trying to counter like a revenge counter or something like that. I wouldn't recommend you guys use this. This is not worth using in those situations unless it's a revenge counter. That's where you can really punish people with it. And that's where you want to try to use this defensive tech, is if it's a revenge counter. Here we have a description on super perception, which is if you have a skill count available when an opponent uses a smash attack, you can turn your perception into a super perception, deflect their attack, and counter attack. This consumes a skill point, however, so choose your timing carefully. This basically allows you to get a perception counter off that is also allowed you to combo, because a normal perception will not allow you to combo, but this specific perception will allow you to combo, and that is a super perception. This is just telling us about how you're able to go from guarding to perception, and this is super perception with blasts, and this is just telling you how with super perception it is possible to deflect or dissipate an opponent's beams and blasts. When successful, you will receive a temporary boost to your abilities as well. However, that some blasts cannot be deflected or dissipated. The technique also consumes the skill points, so choose your timing wisely. This, I have not seen too many ults where this works, but I believe how you want to do this is you essentially have to get a perfect super perception. I don't think you can hold it against blast cards that can be deflected. I think I've seen Toppo's Hakai get deflected like this, And I've seen Frieza's Death Ball get deflected like this, so those are a couple attacks, but this is just testing, man. You got to test this out. You got to figure out which works and what doesn't, and that's just where you're going to learn, man. You got to learn if your blasts are deflectable by Super Perception. And then here we have the breakdown on Super Perception versus Revenge Counter. That's where you get that little cutscene, and that will temporarily give you a boost and also just kind of screw over your enemy, man. There's not much else to that. That is pretty much all the basic defensive tech in the game that the game does tell you about, and the game doesn't tell you about. We gave you a couple tips in there as well. Other than these initial tips, man, honestly, all you can really do is practice it away, try to incorporate these things into your gameplay, and with that, you can strengthen your defense to be the best defensive player in Sparking Zero that you can be. With that being said, this is your boy Eisen, signing out.